tourism is a sector where we're talking about over a $1 trillion business globally, right? So this is an area where there is already a money, right? This is an area where we say that tourism has multiple tentacles. It affects so much different variety of industry, be it agriculture, trading, so on and so forth. And we believe that mobile can be a vital component to share a pie of that over $1 trillion business, right? अर्को नेपालमै कुरा गर्ने हो भने पनि we can see there is a decline, but already नेपालमा 2012 को डेटा अनुसार चाहिँ 31 plus $billion को चाहिँ revenue tourism sectorले generate गरेको. This is a very common sight के हैन दरबार स्क्वायरमा एउटा group of Japanese touristहरु आयो भने उनीहरुले के गर्छ they spend time 15 minutes looking into the monuments and another half an hour sitting like this and using their applications. Perhaps somebody is sharing pictures on Instagram immediately, or perhaps somebody is, using TripAdvisor to find the best deal around, right? Or even like this, honeymoon trip ma jaँदाखेरि पनि people are busy, checking out how many people have liked their pictures. Or even like this, you take picture, I use my app. This is what the reality of tourism is about these days. Or even like this. Airport ma transit ma हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ while I'm connecting to my next flight, I would want to see मेरो destination मा पुगेपछि cab मैले कहाँ पाउने, right? So you can see mobile app cannot be an isolated thing anymore. Okay? Tourism सँग यो already embedded र gel भएर गइसकेको छ. Because this is the data. Okay? 85% is use smartphones while traveling abroad. So we no longer need to cross that initial hurdle of educating people on uses of mobile app. Okay? Users are already, just we need to push the right app. अब हामीले top 5 uses travelers हरुले केमा गर्छ कस्तो खालको एपहरु केमा गर्छ भन्दाखेरि फर्स्टमा चाहिँ taking pictures, right? कतै गयो अन्नपूर्ण बेस क्याम्पमा ट्रेकिङ गयो भने the first thing that you would want to do is अन्नपूर्ण हिमालको देख्ने बित्तिकै take a picture. Similarly, using maps, travelers हरुले पहिला हाम्रो हुन्थ्यो नि थमेलमा गएर म्याप किनेर कहाँनिर छ यो पोइन्ट सोध्दै हिँड्नु सक्छ. Now you take a cell phone out of your pocket and flip through the screens, map to find locations. Or search restaurants, especially how many of you seen Chinese tourists in Thakali restaurants in Tamil? Anyone? Because Chinese tourists नेपालमा आउँदा उनीहरुले पहिले सर्च गरे Chinese restaurants हरु कहाँ छ भने they would have already known. So they use mobile phones to search restaurants globally. अनि अर्को चाहिँ activities र attractions हरु हैन. नेपालमा एकजना स्पेनिश टुरिस्ट आयो भने चाहिँ jazz festival कहाँ भइराछ भने that is why they use mobile app for, हैन. अनि अर्को चाहिँ अहिले ग्लोबली एकदम भएको चाहिँ before I do not want to stay in a long queue at the airport, so airport मा जानु भन्दा अगाडि म मेरो baggage check in गरेर चाहिँ I just want to cross that line. त्यो airport immigration मा cross गर्नको लागि check in counters हरु cross गर्नको लागि they use mobile app. So these are top 5 uses. So यसबाट के बुझ्नु पर्यो भने where is the trend, हैन. अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ in numbers यसलाई अब हेर्ने हो भने अझै डिटेलमा there are some interesting facts and figures है global research बाट चाहिँ 46% of the people check in location. I am at Everest Hotel having first cup of Nepali coffee. That is what people do. It's already 46%. Right? 30% is use mobile app to find hotel deals. Right? But travel gardaichu, I'm going to Pokhara. Ask to any tourist these days, they use their mobile phones to find out lakeside ma sabanda राम्रो deal ma best accommodation मैले कसरी पाउने. And the number is 30% is globally. Similarly, 72% is it's use mobile apps for posting vacation photos on a social network, right? म अन्नपूर्ण बेस क्याम्पमै हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ I want my friend in UK to like that picture. Okay? That is something that makes me really happy, and it's 72%. Right? 44% is use cell phones to research travel while they are actually traveling. जस्तै अब एयरपोर्टमा if you've been exposed to international travel, you would see that एयरपोर्टमा मान्छेले टाइम पास गर्ने भनेको I'm going to let's say Bhutan, हैन. भुटानमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ बुक किनेर पहिला गर्थ्यो भुटानको बारे. अहिले चाहिँ they use app to read about Bhutan. Okay? So that मैले भुटानमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ hello how are you भनेर कसरी भुटानिज ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा बोल्ने भनेर I know that beforehand. And this is 44%. use cell phones and mobile apps to research their travel while they are actually traveling. Right? 36% is use it to find restaurants. Right? Because tourism, kosto area ho, मैले बुझेसम्म म as a tourist myself is like, you are there to spend money. And you would want the best deal for everything, every single penny that you spend. Right? So 36% is, ठाउँमेलमा चाहिँ राति 2 बजीसम्म खोल्ने पब कुन छ यो? That is what people look for. Right? काठमाडौँमा बेस्ट मोमोज, भेरी हेल्दी मोमोज, जसबाट चाहिँ मलाई फुड पोइजनिङ हुँदैन, एउटा बाहिरबाट भर्खर आएको टुरिस्टले, द्याट इज वाट दे लुक फर, एन्ड द नम्बर इज 36%. Similarly, 70% have to update their Facebook status, which we can, I think nobody can deny this fact, right? So vacation ma I'm out of everything, email ma auto responder rakera I'm on vacation lekha huncha, tara they would be posting their status all the time, and this is 70%. Yo sabaiबाट हामीले के थाहा हुन्छ भने mobile app ko usage is already there, okay? हैन? And there are different ways by which tourists make use of mobile apps while they are on the move. है? त्यसै गरी अर्को नम्बर चाहिँ फ्लाइट डिल्स. हैन? नेपालमा अलिकति समस्या छ होला पेमेन्ट सेमेन्टको इस्यु, तर मोस्ट अफ द टाइम इन्टरनेसनली चाहिँ आई वान्ट टु कम्पेयर, यहाँ काठमाडौँबाट दिल्ली जाँदाखेरि मलाई चाहिँ स्पाइस जेटको राम्रो हुन्छ कि जेट एयरवेजको राम्रो हुन्छ कि नेपाल एयरलाइन्सको राम्रो हुन्छ. दे युज मोबाइल एप टु कम्पेयर द फ्लाइट डिल्स. है? अर्को 40% globally of the traffic, internet-ma aउने traffic related to travel comes from mobile devices. So we are talking about a sector that has huge penetration. 40, come on, you can think, 40% of the traffic comes from mobile phones. That means people are glued to their phones if they are travelers. 40% is huge. You cannot find that in any other sector. Agriculture, education, अरूमा पनि हुन्छ होला, तर 40% चाहिँ अहिलेसम्म कुनै पनि सेक्टरमा भएको छैन. So the number speaks for itself. Right? 15% have downloaded apps related to upcoming travel and vacation, and this is where I want to grab your attention. Okay? If somebody is coming to Nepal, they would want to download that app, even if it is for only 1 week, for which time they will be in Nepal. They want to download an app that is Nepali and that talks about Nepal. Okay? And this is where the plate is open for you to actually serve them. Right? 15% is huge. 15% is of people want Nepali app that explains properly about what Krishna Mandir is, what what can they do in Annapurna Base Camp, so on and so forth. And this is where the market is pretty empty at this point of time. Right? 46% is again check-in to location. Right? So यसबाट लोकेसनमा चेक गर्ने भनेको हामीले यसबाट बुझ्न पर्ने के छ, what they are doing is like, one, they are promoting the place. Two, most importantly from business point of view, we will be able to know where they are right now. So then I can then point them that there is a Chinese restaurant few blocks down the way. And we are talking about identifying that customer. The number is the percentage is 46. So the market is pretty open in that sense as well. So what does it all mean? यो सबै मैले global statsहरु देखाए, यो सबै चीजबाट के what I want to talk about now is, so यो सबै चीजबाट हामीले चाहिँ के सिकेर अगाडि कसरी बढ्नु पर्छ, है? The first thing is know your play field, हैन? Tourismमा अब we have experts here, they know it, as I said earlier, they know it far more than I do. तर tourism is like, you cannot say okay म नेपालको tourismको लागि app बनाउने. You need to identify your niche. Right? One, for example, I really like this definition of tourism components. Right? There can be an argument about whether this is holistic or not, but I want to take you through this thing. One is accommodation. Tourism, are we talking about, are you thinking about building your app that helps people find locations, accommodation locations? Right? For example, on the left, this is a mobile app of Airbnb. Right? I've used it when I was in Europe. Low budget ma जाँदाखेरि Airbnb बाट best deal पत्ता लगाउने कसरी, right? Or there is hotels.com भन्ने एउटा dedicated platform को चाहिँ a mobile app. These are already in picture. Similarly, when you talk about accessibility, tourists लाई चाहिँ एउटा location बाट अर्को ठाउँमा कसरी पुर्याउनु, the accessibility factor. So here, for example, Skyscanner is an app globally that talks about, that gives you price of airline tickets, airlines, right? Similarly, Taxi Magic भन्ने app छ एउटा. Unfortunately, it might not work in Nepal because we do not have properly geocoded locations, so on and so forth. But म न्युयोर्क सिटीबाट बाहिर गएपछि मैले एक ठाउँबाट अर्को ठाउँमा जाँदा ट्याक्सीले कति पैसा लिन्छ, राउट के हुन्छ, कस्तो हुन्छ, accessibility. The third is amenities. I really like this thing, Wi-Fi finder. This is a global app, हैन? म tourist जान्छ, as I said, like 70% is, more than 70% would want to check in and update their Facebook status, right? So they would want to go to a restaurant where there is a free Wi-Fi. अर्को चाहिँ it talks about attraction. काठमाडौँ आएपछि के गर्ने त? For example, this is an app, हैन? नेपालको लागि unfortunately राफ्टिङको लागि भन्ने त्यस्तो स्पेसिफिक चाहिँ मैले चाहिँ पाएन, at least not to my knowledge at least. There is a very interesting app called Swim Guide, के? यो चाहिँ कस्तो भने युरोपमा अमेरिकामा एकदमै युज हुने चाहिँ people who would want to swim would want to know first safety, right? कुन चाहिँ बीचमा गएर चाहिँ स्विम गर्दा ठिक छ, water quality, right? So यदि स्विम गर्न जाने टुरिस्टहरुको लागि हो भने चाहिँ this app says this is where different locations are, हैन? त्यहाँ स्विम गर्दा these are the factors, open time र closing time कहिले हो, कस्तो हो, this gives everything. And cannot we have app like this to say there is a jazz festival happening in Nepal, in Kathmandu, in Patan Darbar Square, or Indra Jatra kaka हुँदैछ, where are the different processions taking place, cultural processions, so on and so forth. And then finally, activities. हैन? अस्तिको हाम्रो हुडहुडले गर्दा जुन मनाङ मुस्ताङमा इम्प्याक्ट पर्यो नि, त्यसबाट एउटा मैले सिकेको पार्ट चाहिँ के हो भने, a simple thing could easily solve that problem. If we could trace टुरिस्टले चाहिँ एउटा कुनै सिम्पल एप युज गरेर चेक इन चेक आउट, है? एउटा ग्लोबल ट्र्याक भन्ने एउटा एप छ जसले चाहिँ के गर्छ भने म पोइन्ट ए बाट पोइन्ट बी सम्म पुग्दाखेरि मेरो एक्सपेक्टेड टाइम कति, राइट? फर एक्जाम्पल मलाई अन्नपूर्ण बेस क्याम्प जाँदैछु, एउटा लोकेसनबाट अर्को लोकेसनमा पुग्न 5 आवर्स लाग्छ, ओके आई पुट 8 आवर्स, हैन? सो यु स्टार्ट सेइङ ओके आई हेभ चेक्ड इन एट लोकेसन ए, मेरो स्टार्टिङ पोइन्ट, अनि डेस्टिनेसनसम्ममा चाहिँ 8 आवर्ससम्म पुगेन भने इट सेन्ड्स अलर्ट मेसेजेस टु योर families. And we all know that app develops, this is a simple technology that can be implemented very easily. Right? So I've given here an example of every trail that talks about, it has more than 400,000 submissions from people who go for trekking all over the world. Okay? That says, I want to trek in Nepal, you go here, review this, and find out what are the activities that you can do in terms of trekking. Right? So you can see, like, you need to identify your play field. Kun area ma accommodation ma herdai okay, accessibility, amenities, attraction, activities. If somebody comes to me and says that we want to do everything, then I'm sorry, that is not possible. Why? I'm the Candy Crush when app rack somebody. I do not want to listen to FM in that knee. Nothing can be like everything but possible. You would have to want to focus, and these are the niche areas that you need to choose from. Right? And last but not the least, this is the giant, right? TripAdvisor. It has everything that I talked about. TripAdvisor for hotels, TripAdvisor for accessibility, TripAdvisor for amenities and everything. And this is huge. Right? So that should give you a pretty good idea of what already exists. Any app that you can think about in tourism already exists in a global market. So does that mean novelty? So that is not the case. Okay? If that exists in other contexts, Nepalese context, that is novelty. Okay? We're not talking about patent register. These are things that has already worked elsewhere. So this two concepts like Nepalese context, that is what we need to focus on, right? Knowing your play field. And then target audience. This is for all tourists. That is the response that I get most of the time from people who develop apps for tourism. Okay? And that cannot be true. Why? Because हाम्रो 2013 को Nepal Tourism Board ले निकालेको data अनुसार चाहिँ most of the people, over 400,000 people came to Nepal in 2013 for holiday and pleasure, right? So holiday and pleasure ma आउने tourist को requirement would be very different from that tourist who comes for business or a tourist who comes for pilgrimage, right? So you need to identify your target audience. And for that, always rely on data, facts, and figures. Similarly, अर्को हेर्ने भने एज ग्रुप 2013 मा द highest number of age group over 200,000 tourists were belong to 31 to 45 category. So if you build an app that is targeted towards 61 and over, does that mean you are going in the wrong direction? No, absolutely not. Because you are saying, I am targeting this particular group. I do not care about the numbers, but I am targeting this group, and you need to understand. But if you say, I am targeting people who are who are over 80, then the data does not validate your argument. And this is my whole point. Yeah? Male to female ratio, which is almost same. Let's say 2013 ma 56 versus 44, right? Male to female ratio. So we need to think about market segmentation marketing ma, right? कुन चाहिँ मार्केटले टार्गेट गरेको छ कुन चाहिँ एज ग्रुपले स्पेसिफिकली मोबाइल एपको केसमा त इट इज भेरी भेरी भाइटल के हैज एनीवन थॉट अबाउट डेभलपिङ पुटिङ एन इन्टरफेस इन चाइनिज Okay, very good, because this data justifies that. 2013 ma, second largest group is Chinese. First Indian kino bhayo? They come by road with all stoves and pito and everything, right? But if I am to focus right now and perhaps develop for future, I would focus on that second line, which is over 100,000 as of now, right? So Chinese tourists, like Chinese restaurants, I'm not saying that you need to focus only on Chinese, but you need to understand. For example, if you're trying to do your app in Spanish, does the top 10 countries from where the tourists come, does that justify? It is not, right? But if I want to do in French, it is in the top 10, yes. So you need to identify your target audience. यसले गर्दा सजिलो चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने by nationality हेर्ने भने where do you pitch your idea? Right? मैले चाहिँ भनौँ न एप बनाएँ अनि यहाँ नेपालमा पब्लिसिटी गरेर मात्र पुग्छ इफ आई एम टार्गेटिङ फ्रेन्च टुरिस्ट समहाउ त्यहाँको कुनै भनौँ न कुनै एउटा फेसबुकमा कुनै पेज होला अथवा त्यहाँ कुनै नेप्लिज एम्बेसी छ भने अथवा केही चिज छ भने देन यु क्यान रियली मार्केट मी नत्र त ग्लोबल अडियन्सको लागि ग्लोबल टुरिस्टको लागि भने चाहिँ टक टु अल दि एम्बेसिज अफ नेपाल गो एभ्रिवेयर द्याट इज नट पोसिबल होइन And मैले international tourists को कुरा गरेँ. Unfortunately, I do not have any numbers for domestic tourists in Nepal. Do not forget that as well. Yeah? Couple of weeks back, me and a bunch of my friends, we went for a short 3-day recreational trip to Annapurna Base Camp. And I think the hotel people told us that we spent perhaps 5 times more than a normal tourist would end up paying. Right? अनि हामीले चाहिँ हिमालको रेन्ज हेर्दै थियौँ है एन्ड देन आई आस्क त्यो पिक कुन चाहिँ हो त्यो पिक कुन चाहिँ हो मान्छेले यो माछा पुछ भने पनि म पत्याउँछु यो अन्नपूर्ण भने नि पत्याउँछु यो अन्नपूर्ण 2 भने पनि पत्याउँछु राइट सो त्यो बेला मैले रियलाइज गरेको कि इजन्ट देयर एन एप मैले टक्क पोइन्ट गर्ने बित्तिकै इमेज प्रोसेसिङबाट चाहिँ दिस इज द्याट पर्टिकुलर पिक भनेर आइडेन्टिफाई गर्ने देन आई थिङ्क आई वुड युज द्याट राइट अर मैले अघि रेस्टुरेन्ट्सहरूकै कुरा गरेँ होइन इफ देयर इज अ पर्फेक्ट एप that guides me nearest सबभन्दा मिठो थकाली माइली दिदीको थकाली भन्दा मिठो अर्को कहाँ छ if there is an app that could review and provide me those things I am going to use that as well so mobile app मा कुनै पनि सेक्टरमा मैले भ्यालु प्रपोजिसन को कुरा that is the harsh reality के अर्कोले गर्यो भन्दैमा त्यो सक्सेसफुल हुन्छ नत्र I could easily create trip advisor kind of thing but त्यसको लागि प्रब्लम के हो where do I get the content right मैले चाहिँ ओके टुरिस्टलाई इन्फर्मेसन दिन्छु त भने तर सबै कन्टेन्ट हामीले कहाँ बिकज द वान प्रब्लम विथ मोबाइल एप इज वन्स आई इन्स्टल द्याट एप इन माई फोन एन्ड कुनै टाइम गएर त्यो क्रास भयो टेक्निकल फिचर्स अथवा मैले खोजेको इन्फर्मेसन छैन भने आई एम गन गेट रिड अफ द्याट इन्स्टेन्टली लाइक दिस इट्स भेरी इजी फर यु टु अट्र्याक्ट पिपल बट इट्स मोर इजियर फर यु टु डिसएसोसिएट पिपल विथ यर एप होइन सो मैले अघिदेखि भनिरहेको एउटा फोकस गर्न पर्यो भन्ने कारण चाहिँ बिकज यु वुड वान्ट टु आइडेन्टिफाई प्ले इन दिस पर्टिकुलर स्पेस के एन्ड बी पर्फेक्ट देयर होइन एन्ड स्पेसिफिकली इन टुरिज्म द्याट होल्ड्स लट ट्रु फाइनली डोन्ट फर्गेट मनी कुनै पनि एपलाई सस्टेन गर्नलाई पैसा चाहिन्छ नो म्याटर वाट एन्ड रिमेम्बर युजर्स आर द किङ दे क्यान क्रास यु एनी टाइम दे क्यान लिफ्ट यु एनी टाइम कि भाइरालिटीको कुरा गर्छौँ नि हामी एज एभिडेन्ट फ्रम दिस फ्याक्ट 52% of the users, Facebook users, have said that उनीहरूको holiday choice depends on the pictures that their friends put. So users are the king. Okay? So you need to associate with users. And last but not the least, do not forget existing ecosystem. If you say that, म चाहिँ एउटा मोनुमेन्ट्सहरु हैन डिस्क्राइब गर्ने एउटा एप बनाउँछु and I'll write all my content भने you cannot do that, है. So you need to talk about content providers. त्यो माउन्टेन्सहरुको चाहिँ मोबाइल एपबाट आइडेन्टिफाई गर्ने भनेर चाहिँ who will provide that content, हैन. कुनै एउटा चाहिँ ट्रेकिङ राउट्सहरु पत्ता लगाउने एप बनाएर चाहिँ who will provide that content. You need to think about them and partner with them, okay? Because they are already in the market for last 20 years. You cannot expect to change that overnight. You need to collaborate. So this is where we need to talk with perhaps associations and groups. We have trekking associations, travel associations, and so many other groups. Right? And we could also talk with government agencies like Nepal Tourism Board and others and see, this is my idea, is there a way to collaborate? Rather than saying, I'm competing with you traditional actors, we need to collaborate, because otherwise things would not work. And we need to talk with individual agencies and actors that are already in the market. Right? So this is all I had to share. And I'm sure in the panel discussion, we will be enriched with a real tourism sector knowledge. So thank you very much.